With the release of Season 19, we saw some newcomers join the Stadium roster: Sojourn, Torbjorn, and the subject of today's video, Hazard. At first, I didn't really think Hazard would be that much of a threat in Stadium because we have the likes of D.Va and Orisa, both of which somewhat counter him, and have their own insane builds respectively. But I now realize just how much of a threat he truly is, especially with the build I'm going to be talking about because it's just ridiculous. It's nothing special either, it's literally just a matter of scaling two abilities and using them in tandem with one another to practically one-shot most heroes and keep yourself alive without practically any help from your supports because, and I can't stress this enough, this build is absolutely ridiculous. Yes, you heard me right. Not only is the build amazing for securing quick and easy kills on literally anyone on the enemy team, but it heals you for getting quick and easy kills on literally anyone on the enemy team. This is because the build revolves around Spike Guard, Violent Leap, and somewhat Jagged Wall. Whilst all three are great at keeping him alive for their own reasons, the main one we're going to be focusing on is Spike Guard because there's one teeny tiny item that breaks it. And that's Blood Needle. Blood Needle doesn't only grant 50 more health and 50% Spike Guard max resource, but it also heals Hazard for 0.3% max life per hit from spikes. There's a lot to take into consideration here. Spike Guard already both deals and mitigates damage as a base function of the ability, but with this item, it also now shoots more spikes and heals Hazard for 0.3% of his max life over time. This only gets better with Skewer Bloom, which increases the range of Spike Guard by 50% as well as increasing AP by 10%. Every other item is kind of redundant because we're purely focusing on building Spike Guard to keep us alive and deal a lot of damage over time with a maxed out AP stat. But there is one final item that I really recommend taking, and that's Touch Up's Touch Up. That was more difficult to say than I thought it would be. This item not only increases AP by 10% and cooldown regeneration by 5%, but it makes Spike Guard's spikes deal 25% more damage for 5 seconds after using Violent Leap, which is insane because Violent Leap already deals a bunch of damage thanks to the constant scaling of AP in this build. As for the powers, again, it's pretty straightforward. We're taking powers that overall make Spike Guard and Violent Leap better so we can get that one-shot combo a hell of a lot easier. I generally start by taking Hit Me Again so I can charge more Violent Leaps in the first round, as the power makes each spike from Spike Guard that hits an enemy reduce Violent Leap's cooldown by 0.1 second, as well as almost outright removing the movement speed penalty from Spike Guard entirely. In round 2, I take Needle Storm because that means Spike Guard hits more enemies, meaning my cooldown on Violent Leap is much shorter because I'm getting more hits with my spikes from Spike Guard. In round 3, I take Woof Woof because it makes Spike Guard last a little bit longer, which means I can stay alive for a little bit longer if things are looking rocky. If my supports die first, I can either try to wipe the enemy team by myself because my damage output is insane at this point, or I can choose to sustain myself for a little bit until my supports get back. It entirely depends on the way that the fight is going, because if the enemy team are already a few down, then I might as well try to close out the fight and secure the point. But if they're looking like the better team in the fight, then I can just try and stall for as long as possible. The final power doesn't really matter too much because the build is pretty much complete with these three, but I usually take Slasher as a throwaway because there's a chance that the projectile hits an enemy whilst they're falling back to get heals or just reset ready for the next fight. It also means that I charge my ult a lot faster because Violent Leap damage now grants 25% more ult charge with this power, so that's pretty neat. But that just about does it for this build and ultimately this video. The main thing to remember with this build is that it plays a little bit weird. It's more like playing Doomfist where you just focus on spamming abilities to get really fast kills. It's funny because you honestly don't even need to press M1 once. Completely forget about shooting. Hell, unbind the input because you won't need it because you're turning yourself into Doomfist's Scottish cousin. Do you still get countered by Orisa and D.Va? A little bit, But this build makes it a hell of a lot more manageable because A, you don't die as easily, and B, your cooldowns are super fast, so if you mess up going in with Violent Leap, you can just block for a few seconds and get another one for completely free. The fights are genuinely also completely free. It's insane just how strong this build is. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's ridiculous.